So I found it kind of funny that in the last video about the differences between ENTPs and INTPs, that was the video that had the most, or the greatest number of people telling me that I was in fact not an ENTP, I was an INTP, which is fine. They're wrong, but I just thought it was funny. So I'm going to do a similar thing with the ENFPs and the INFPs. I'm going to examine the differences between them based on their tertiary function and their repressed function, mainly. So let's do it. So ENFPs have repressed introverted sensation, and like I said with the ENTPs, this gives them a aversion to codification and sort of dogma. And someone on the ENTP subreddit, someone who I think was one of the people who said I'm INTP, was saying that it's not introverted sensation, the repression of introverted sensation, that is making ENTPs averse to dogma. It's the abundance of extroverted intuition that's making them averse to dogma. Because once something is settled, then it cannot be, it is no longer pregnant with, possibilities, to paraphrase celebrity types. And my response to that is pretty much the same as what I said in the INTP versus ENT video, where there's these opposing processes, these Heraclitean opposing processes where you can't really tell if it's an abundance of heat or a lack of cold. You can't really say if it's an abundance of extroverted intuition or a lack of introverted sensation, because they're so intertwined. And so that's one of the reasons that we get all this talk of axes. So ENFPs have repressed introverted sensation. So like the ENTPs, they're averse to dogma and things that are settled. So unfortunately, this will give them that quality of being farmers who don't reap what they sow, because once something feels real and settled and codified, like something is gonna work, then they're going to sort of abandon that project and find something else. But again, like every function, there's a good thing with it being there, and it's a bad thing with it being there. And the good thing with introverted sensation being repressed in the ENFP is it gives them such a proliferation. You talk about someone like Jacques Derrida, who's an ENFP, and he has such a wide range of ideas and fields. And this sort of brings on the comparison between introverted intuition and extroverted intuition being so broad and introverted intuition being so deep. And I feel like this sometimes invites the comparison that extroverted intuition is shallow and introverted intuition is deep. And you get that binary, but I like to think of it as more of a lateral heuristic where all the fields are informing each other, which is sort of what Joseph Campbell has to say about it, that he's a generalist, not a specialist, because no specialist has considered why something happens over here and here at the same time. So just a little bit about extroverted intuition there, sort of being an extroverted intuition apologist. So in the INFPs, introverted sensation is not repressed. So I think this gives them that famous dream world quality, because when something feels real to the ENFP, they sort of try to move on and try to keep the creative process going. Whereas the INFPs, when something feels real and detailed, they can expand on it and keep exploring their inner selves. So you get these people like George R.R. Martin and J.R.R. Tolkien and Neil Gaiman, all INFPs, who are able to, and I think Stephen King. I read an article about Stephen King. He's not on Celebrity Types, but I'm pretty sure Stephen King is an INFP as well. They're able to create these vast worlds in such interesting detail, and they're able to keep doing it, where the ENFP would have struggles with it because it feels too codified and settled. Of course, the downside of this is it can sort of become an escapism from the rejection of the real world. But it's typically an escapism to something sort of sort of beautiful. So that's introverted sensation in the INFPs. In the INFPs, extroverted thinking is repressed. And so extroverted thinking is the opposing process to introverted feeling. And while introverted feeling says live and let live, because they realize that, or introverted feeling is individuating, and it sees the differences between people, and so they say, we can all get along by just, keeping our hands out of each other's pants. While extroverted thinking says there's really no room in the system for slackers, and it sees the function of everyone. That's a quote from some ESTJ. I don't remember who though. So this gives the INFP a sort of preservation of their personal autonomy and their will. It was said of John Kerry that you couldn't really tell him what to do. You could suggest something, and he would, maybe do it if it floated his boat. And so he's retaining that sense of personal autonomy. But unfortunately, this extroverted thinking repression sort of inhibits the INFP from enacting huge, change in whatever area they're passionate about. You have someone like George Orwell who exposes the hypocrisy or the farce of something, but there's no inaction, because there's that preservation of everyone's personal autonomy. But I think this also keeps INFPs from becoming, as dictatorial as the ENFPs or the INFJs, for example, because they have this inhibition to, enforce their ideas. So in the ENFP, extroverted thinking is not repressed, so they unfortunately can, I think, use extroverted thinking in a unique way by, using it to attack things with their ideals. So you take someone like Che Guevara, I don't know how to say his name, I forgot, who has these very, strong ideals, but uses them in, sort of murderous way. And that's sort of been the theme of the tertiary function, especially. These videos have been one way to replace the hidden agenda function video that I took down. What I mean by that is the tertiary function is often used in a very unique way. I was very suspicious when I first saw that quote on celebrity types, because it invites this comparison that you use functions like a tool, but it actually sort of, it makes sense now. You take the ENTPs who use extroverted feeling, a very communal function, to argue. You see INTPs using introverted sensation, a very a codifying and somewhat social function, because they absorb these details in the larger context of a culture. And you see the INTPs using it to build systems, and you see the INFPs using that same function to build mental dream worlds, and you see the ENFPs using extroverted thinking to justify the means by the ends in Che. Of course, there's also the good side of extroverted thinking not being repressed in the ENFP, is that the personal autonomy of someone else, of others, is not wholly preserved. They talk about Hunter S. Thompson fighting complacency and being adventure himself, or itself. So there's that very enterprising quality to them. And of course there's, in the lack of personal autonomy for others, there's an obligation that comes with extroverted thinking. So you have someone like Nassim Taleb, I think, is the one who said, if you see a fraud and you don't shout fraud, you're a fraud. So you lose that sense of personal autonomy, but you gain a fight against complacency. So yeah, that's the ENFPs. Oh, I forgot to mention an example ENFP of someone who used their extroverted thinking sort of in a unique, violent way was Ulrike Meinhof. So yeah, that's the differences between INFPs and ENFPs.